2021 was an watershed year for India, Indian armed forces, and Indian defense industry. It was also an eventful year for Indian military with developing and deploying the security dynamics along the Pakistani and the Chinese border. In 2020, during COVID-19 time period, China tried to invade the Indian northern Ladakh and the eastern Ladakh territory and tried to change the status quo unilaterally, and they continuing to doing that in 2021. So India have to seal some crucial defense deals with the countries those who produces the state of art military arsenals. India also built some of the indigenous weapons that changed the face of the Indian defense research and development. The highlights of the India's defense indigenization was aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, which is in the sea trial right now, but it will be inducted soon in the 2022. India also maintained the super balance between the significant defense partner, the France, USA and the Russia. Hello everyone. In this topic, I would like to tell you or recall your memory on the some of the path-breaking weapon system that the Indian military finally got to neutralize the hostile neighbors' belligerent attitude towards the India. Let's start with the Russian air defense system S-400. The S-400's inductions from the Russia, one of the significant moment for India's armed forces, because India almost invited the America's impositions of countering America's adversaries through the Sanctions Act, which is CATSA Act, a law that allows the USA to sanction a country that purchases the Russian system. India played that game very well by paying the Russia not in dollar but in Indian rupee. India took the necessary risk to protect its sovereignty and made the decision independently. Because India is a democratic country, India have their right to take the decisions of their own. India should not and the must not bow to anyone's pressure, because India can give any country 138 million tons of pressure, because India's population is 138 billion, and give them the billions of pressures. And USA knows it very well. So they refrain putting the ban on India, on Indian economy or Indian any kind of Indian systems. India recently received the first squadron of S-400, which has been deployed in Punjab sector to counter both our hostile neighbors. The S-400 includes a multifunction radar, autonomous detection and the targeting system, and was first deployed in combat by the Russian army in 2007. It can engage any kind of airborne threats that includes fighter jets, unmanned aerial vehicle and missiles. Its range is also wide and versatile from 30 km to 400 km. It have medium range of ground missiles which are 9M96E and 9M96E2 with range of 120 km. S-400 can hit the target with the pinpoint accuracy. It can defend the Indian borders from any kind of aggressions from our belligerent neighboring neighbors. And next one is the French combat aircraft, which is Rafael. Its induction was very important for Indian Air Force because India having age-old fighters from Russia and France, and these fighters needed to be replaced by new ones. And India's squadron number is depleting rapidly. To fight a two front where India must have 42 squadron, but India only have 33 to 34 squadron. So these fighters were very important to increase the number of squadron. Rafael procurement started in 2020 and it's still continuing, it will come to an end in the early of the 2022. This There are two functional Rafael squadron in India. The 117 Golden Arrow at Ambala that could cater to Ladakh sector, and 101 Falcon in Hashimara, West Bengal to take care of the eastern LAC sector. During French Defense Minister Florence Parly's India visit, she had expressed the intention of supplying additional Rafael jets to India, along with so many other offers. And that offer was India wants to build the engine of the MK to with the Sapran. That Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh also expressed. French government also hinted to make the Rafale under Make in India program, which is a very important step taken by the Prime Minister to build everything within the India that will going to help the Indian economy, that will going to create the more jobs for the Indian students and those who are seeking for the job, and that will going to give the boost to the India's defense industry. Rafale is a 4.5 generations aircraft with the air and the air beyond visual range meteor missile, air to air laser guided scalp missile with range of beyond 300 km, and the hammer which is precision terrain hugging ammunitions with a range of 60 km, and this missile can seek the high value enemy targets on its own. It's kind of a fire and forget missile. You have to lock the targets and forget about and release it. And the next one is American MQ-9 Reaper drone. India has acquired it to conduct the maritime awareness and the surveillance operations. That's why India have bought this drone from United States. New Delhi signed for 30 MQ-9, 10 each for the services, for three services. 10 each for our three services, for Army, for Navy, and for Air Force. After being impressed with its operational performance, India have decided to buy it and bought it. The MQ-9, also called the Predator B, is an hunter-killer drone succeeded the MQ-1 Predator drone, which was the previous version. It is made for long-range, high-altitude operations because of its long loiter time, wide range of sensors, multi-mode communication skill, and superior weaponry. And this UAV has unique capability to perform the strike, coordinations, and the reconnaissance against the high value and the transitory and the time sensitive targets. This is a very important thing. And Predator B can carry over 1 tons of weapon externally. That includes the 4 Hellfire missiles and the 2 to 7 kilogram bombs. India is buying this drone to kill the Chinese border aggressions and the Pakistan mislead or misadventure across the Indian border. Now it is our own aircraft. It is our indigenous one LCA Tejas. LCA means light combat aircraft. Indian government gave long-awaited 83 LCA Tejas contract to our Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, and these fighters will be inducted into the Indian Air Force. And this deal includes 73 Mark 1A aircraft and 10 trainer aircraft. India also concentrating on the Tejas Mark Mk2 variant to replace the Mirage 2000 and MiG-29. These aircrafts are age old. Their spare parts are very much not available into the market. So scarce of spare parts forcing the Indian Army to retire these jets. The Indian defense industry also trying to develop the AMCA, the India's indigenous fifth generation fighter, that I have already mentioned that the India is trying to build the AMCA's engine with the help of the Rolls Royals or Sapine of the France. France has also expressed its desire to build the engines for the AMCA aircraft, the fifth generations. India also made significant strides when it comes to the boosting the capacity of this aircraft by emergency procurement of the Hammer missiles for LCA Tejas. And additionally, it is also reportedly developed a homegrown active electronically scanned radar, which is an AESA radar, AESA, for the Tejas and the other fighters. Tejas is superior fighter with excellent agility and a supersonic fighter. It's a supersonic fighter. It's a fourth generations fighter, and it has the delta wing to give its, and it is also very good in the reconnaissance and the anti-ship missile operations. India is also developing the deck-based fighter jet for India's aircraft carrier, because India is using MiG-29K, which is an age-old Russian aircraft, and its spare is also scarce in the market, because Russia has forsake by using the aircraft carrier, only have one aircraft carrier which is not operational, or maybe in the operationals in very scarce time. So these are the things has to be replaced. So India is trying to replace these planes, replace these fighters by its own. And the next one is our mighty DRDO. And the DRDO in this year 2021 also saw a string of successful test launches of the indigenous defense equipment, missiles, and the systems. New Delhi is preparing for the worst case of scenario, which is two front, where India is facing the two front war scenario every time, because we are surrounded by the two very hostile neighbors. India came up with the new medium range nuclear capable Agni Prime missile, whose range is 1000 to 2000 km, and the getting closer to entering the service in India. Agni Prime is a two-stage solid propellant ballistic missiles, which is an excellent navigational and the guidance systems with excellent navigational and the guidance system, and it's a new generation Agni missile. It's a new generation Agni missile. India also successfully test powered surface to surface short range Pralay quasi ballistic missile with a 150 and the 500 km range, with the modern navigations and the avionics. And the India is trying to replace the Agni 1 and Agni 2 with these kinds of missiles, because Agni 1 and Agni 2 is a very old missile. It came to the India when the 1980s, when India's missile program has started. Then these missiles came into an existence. These are very old missiles. So India is trying to replace it. India also tested helicopter launch standoff anti-tank missile, a supersonic missile associated torpedo, which is smart, and the Pinaka Mk2 extended range rocket system. So these are the systems India has recently tested. Along with that, India also tested high speed extendable target called the Abhas, and it is an unmanned aerial vehicle attain a high subsonic speed trajectory at a very low altitude with a long endurance. India also tested intercontinental ballistic missile Agni 5 with a range of 5000 km according to the government, but it is said to have range almost 8000 km. And the China was very jittered about testings of the India's Agni 5 missile. And in conclusions, I can say it's my say is that the India has to take these measures to control the aggressions from the hostile countries. But these countries are always busy to harm the India's interest at any cost. One sending the terrorists in our land, and one is sending their troops to grab our lands. India has to protect its democratic value along with its sovereignty from colonial minded land grabbers and the terrorist senders. And the India never attacked any country, and the never will. India will never going to attack any country. But the a country has to take the measures in advance, have to take the measures to protect its people being harmed by the outsiders. And now the question is, what is the India's next proposed aircraft carrier? The first one is INS Bikram, second one is INS Bishal, third one is INS Parakram, and fourth one is INS Durga. And next question is related to the UPSC exam, Union Public Service Commission exam. And the question is, why India need third aircraft carrier? You can explain it to me, or you can write your answers to me, and the email address has been given to me if you want to. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.